I feel like we're watching the Republican Party collapse.
Literally, we went from prosperity to austerity in an instant.
I don't think that any of this is what most people voted for. It's a big joke on us. There's no sane part of this story. You two are like the only sane people in politics and news that I know.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Welcome into the Sanity Podcast. We are so excited to be joined by our dear friend, S.E. Cupp, who always brings the sanity to any show. She is, of course, well known for being a CNN commentator. She's a longtime Daily News columnist. She is now on Substack with Off the Cup, basically leaning into mental health conversations with all sorts of celebrities and important people. She is a Renaissance woman.
Well, and like us, she's been around the media block, and we've worked on all sides of this debate, and it's been quite a journey.
You know,
I can't remember how many times we've crossed paths.
Well, you and I specifically, we were at Fox, MS, and CNN.
Yes.
Wow.
And I remember seeing her at NBC in the elevator, and we were just like, holy man.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I was in DC for Nerd Prom, and you know, you run into people you don't normally see and you don't get to see a lot, and that's always fun to remember, like, oh, I have colleagues, because right now we're all so siloed doing this from our homes and studios and stuff, and a lot of people came up and were like, God, you're doing so much, you're like killing it, you're crushing it. And I was like, no, I'm doing so much because I have to. Like this is not my choice to have 7 jobs at 46.
No,
okay?
it's true.
I hear this all the time. People come up to me and they're like, you are doing you're everywhere. You're doing everything. And I'm like, I'm literally scraping by, man. Like
anyone will let me do.
I know. Guys, it's about to take off. Let me just comfort you guys right now. This experiment, the grand experiment with the new portfolio job, it's about to hit pay dirt. I don't know how, but it's about to.
I hope so, because I love all my jobs like my children, but not really. I mean, I'd love to do fewer. And listen, I love being at Substack. It's been such a great experience. I can talk more naturally and off the cup and not so packaged, which is great. I can also write in the way that I like to write when I'm not constrained to column inches and stuff. So it's been great. And I've loved the freedom. But like the perception of our jobs, the perception of our careers and stuff is very different, at least for me, than the reality of where we're at in this insane media and political environment. You two are like the only sane people in politics and news that I know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But
we're
right.
going to use that as a promo.
Yes, that's good.
Well,
yes.
you know, I mean, they just added Best Podcast to the Golden Globes. So
Get it.
This is the moment, man.
Yeah.
Get it.
Golden Globes, here we come. But I totally agree, Essie, that this portfolio thing is not for the faint of heart. I mean, this DIY, we're really raw dogging our careers.
There you go. You did it.
Did she use it correctly?
She did. We've been trying to teach Allison how to use raw dogging correctly.
Because I think it's dirty.
Well, it started dirty, okay? But now we use it for flights. When you take a flight with nothing to read or watch, you raw dog your flight. You can use it now in lots of contexts. You just used it correctly.
Thank you. This is interesting to me because I feel like it's backwards. Like usually it's something that's totally innocuous and then it becomes dirty. Like you were like, you just said to me, like, did you get your junk fixed or your junk? And I was like, oh, that's dirty. And then I was texting Dave, like, I'm leaving the door open. You can come in the back door. Oh, that's dirty. Like everything has become dirty now, but this one started dirty and became mainstream. It's confusing to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have either of you raw dogged a flight? Because it freaks me out when somebody does it.
It freaks me out when he says this.
Well, you know what it is? It's just like zoning out, not reading anything, not sleeping, just staring.
Remember when Putty did this on Seinfeld? Elaine and Putty were on a flight from like Denmark or something. And she was
broke
like,
up.
Do you want something to read? And he's like, no, I'll be fine. And she's like, you're just going to stare at the back of the chair? Yeah. They broke up because that's how weird it was.
This is amazing.
David Putty
this is amazing.
was ahead of his time.
Yeah,
he was the first raw dogger. Yeah.
High five.
Yeah. High five. Okay.
Okay.
Let's make out.
Oh my God. This is all so good.
Ask
guys.
the 8 Ball.
Wow. Guys.
We could go rounds on
on
Seinfeld.
Forever on Seinfeld.
but-
Drop me into any episode and I'll take you there.
Oh my God, guys, I'm hesitant to stop this and just talk about news and politics of the day because it's so damn good. But I'm going to because I think this will be good also. Because I am actually interested in this. So the new nominee for Surgeon General is a woman named Casey Means. She has great educational credentials, but she didn't finish her residency.
Stanford Medical School.
So she's not a
doctor.
Okay.
She never practiced.
Whatever.
She's going to be the
Never practiced
nation's
medicine.
top doctor without a medical license.
I love that Dave's up in arms about this because of all of the things, Essie, that we can be up in arms about. This is not one of them. She's a smart woman. I don't find her. Let me tell you my experience with her.
Go ahead.
This morning I listened to a podcast. The end. So I'm an expert.
That's
And it was called
That's
Two
all
Women
my
Lab.
experience.
Honestly, that's what passes for expertise. So
Yes.
I am an expert now. She sounds totally smart, totally sane. She wants to make public school lunches healthier. Wow, that's radical. I mean, my argument with this now. So there's this internecine war now where RFK Jr.'s former running mate, Nicole Shanahan, is like, I was promised this was never going to happen. She's a Manchurian bot, like saying the craziest things. So do you have any insight into why this is making a right-wing wildfire go on?
So the entire story arc of the Surgeon General is batshit crazy. It was like cooked up in some LSD factory, but it's real. Okay. Let me start from the beginning.
Please.
There's no sane part of this story. Just warning. Spoiler alert. So original pick for Surgeon General, Jeanette, right? Dr. Jeanette, who is a real doctor, but like a Fox doctor. And
Fox
there are
News contributor, right?
no
course
three
she's on
people in the
Fox.
world who know what that means better than the three of us, okay?
Absolutely.
Fox doctor. So, but a real doctor, but a Fox doctor. She
It.
was originally chosen by RFK Jr., but then Laura Loomer entered the chat. Okay, Laura Loomer is also batshit crazy. She's a crazy conspiracy theorist, and she's got the president's ear, which is awesome.
And
Awesome.
at some point I'd like to dive more into that. But go on, please.
Thank you.
Ugh. So she got wind of this, and she went on this public crusade to end Dr. Jeanette's chances at being the Surgeon General. And Trump or RFK Jr., don't know which one, decided we'll take that advice, and Jeanette's gone. So Jeanette's gone. So then RFK Jr.'s friend, Casey, gets sort of plucked out because expertise doesn't matter anymore. It's just the cronyism. Who are your friends? We'll have them on. They should do the job. She gets picked. She has no experience practicing medicine. She is a wellness influencer who, to supplement her income, has been selling like dietary supplements and creams and weird quack. Okay. We can swear here.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, right.
Re-encourage it.
Okay, so, but her main qualification, as we know, the only important thing is she is a vaccine skeptic. That makes her the appropriate person for this job. Enter Nicole Shanahan, who I don't know. I've never really understood her and her role other than just the wallet. She was the wallet for RFK Jr.'s campaign. And I know people around her who say she's really odd, but so is RFK Jr. That's like, who's the least odd among them? I don't know. She is now coming out and poo-pooing this selection, but very mysteriously, like encoded, weird, ambiguous language.
Is that an artificial Manchurian asset? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What is she talking about?
I don't know. I don't know, because she's not using words that make sense, that are descriptive, that would tell us what is going on.
They're reality based. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's also saying that he is being like controlled
I'm so tired of that particular trope. Like the right wing always thinks, who's behind Barack Obama? Who's pulling the strings? I remember Roger Ailes saying that. Who's behind Joe Biden? Somebody.
Well, it was always George Soros.
Oh yeah, that's right. Thank you. I forgot. George Soros.
It was.
The puppeteer.
It was.
Yeah. And now Scott Bessent, by the way, he's a George Soros disciple, and he's the Treasury Secretary. We digress. There is so much to unpack here, but let me circle back.
That's the whole story. That's where we are today.
I can't skip over the Laura Loomer factor. Is she the most influential person in Donald Trump's orbit? And for those that don't know much about her, give us her resume.
Oh, well, I mean, she's a known Islamophobe. I mean, you should go on her social media. That's it. Her resume is her social media. I don't know that she's done anything other than been like a crazy MAGA activist. And she's talked about having the president's ear. She gets to go into the White House. They just talk. She said, we just talk. We talk and he listens. And what's weird is someone asked Trump, I think this morning, about Casey. And he said, I don't know. I don't know her. I don't know her at all. I let RFK Jr. make the pick. So like in the panoply of things that are insane with this administration, one recurring theme is like departments aren't talking to each other and departments aren't talking to the president. And the president's not always looped in on all of this stuff.
Or it's not just plausible deniability.
It could be Trump just saying, I don't know, to ask somebody else. But there was another experience with the Signal Gate. He was told by the press on his plane that had happened. He learned it from the press, just like Tammy Bruce, who we also know, State Department spokesperson, learned that her boss, Marco Rubio, was going to be filling in at NSA from the press. Like, it's wild how little communication and coordination there seems to be between all the agencies and the White House. I don't know who's doing what or even asking permission to do stuff. When Pete Hegseth ended the women's initiative at the Pentagon, saying this was a Joe Biden program, it was a Republican program. Trump signed it into law. Kristi Noem and Marco Rubio were co-sponsors. Like, no one's talking to anyone. That's deeply alarming.
And just to button up the Loomer conversation, to me, there's just one thing that matters with her and people of her ilk. She's a 9/11 truther. She thinks it's an inside job.
Yeah.
To me, like once you go down that road, anything else you say the rest of your career doesn't matter to me.
But it is interesting that she has the president's ear and she has access to Donald Trump.
She got Mike Waltz whacked from what we understand.
She did.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of people have his ear because he's just so easily influenced, you know? When we were covering him Trump 1.0, we could see in real time, like the last thing he saw on Fox became new policy or lived in his head. Like, we know that's how it works. So it's weird that she has his ear, but I think a lot of people get access to that Oval Office.
I agree. I'm just trying to suggest something scandalous based on nothing. Because I'm raw dogging it. But
no, that's wrong.
Bad. No, he's bad. Okay. Never mind. And then Laura Loomer also goes, I don't know why Trump first even picked the first one that the Fox doc. She goes, clearly someone's controlling it. Like, clearly someone's making these decisions. Nobody can ever be responsible in that orbit, in the Trump orbit, for their own thinking or their own behavior.
That's such an interesting way of putting it, because I naturally go to, like, this is just the rise of conspiracy theories. It's all anyone in MAGA thinks about, or like, there's got to be a conspiracy here. You're saying it's a great accountability out. Absolutely. And that's such an interesting spin on it. I don't mean spin derisively. I'm like, that's such an interesting side of like a coin.
Yeah, it's both. I think
you're
it's
right.
Both. I mean, I really think that it's both.
Yeah.
And they're both disturbing. I think
they are disturbing. The conspiracy theory stuff, that's a drug. That's a mind-altering substance. And we've all seen and covered people who have become victims of rabbit hole conspiracy.
to it. I mean,
I'm related to several of them, with all due respect. Yeah, I have family members who forward me these things that I just say, where the hell did you get this? Did you even put this into, I don't care, ChatGPT,
Right.
something, anything.
Like, Siri, is this true? Yeah.
The rise of conspiracy theories, though, where did it start? I remember there was Alex Jones. He's gone. And now it seems to have taken over.
He's not gone, but I know what you mean. He's still kicking around. Yeah, I mean, there was an era when there were like fun conspiracy theories, like we never landed on the moon. Like, that's fun. That's fun. Flat Earth, fun, right? Harmless. That era ended. And I think, I don't know, maybe like Ruby Ridge, David Koresh, like there became this other thing that rose, this anti-government thing in like the 90s. Yeah. And I wouldn't necessarily pin it to that, but like a lot of that happened at the same time.
But it's also social media because it allows it to spread. So
it's social media,
the internet and social media allow it to spread. You used to have to hear about a conspiracy theory. Ooh, tell me. It's kind of like,
YouTube may be in fact the biggest spreader of conspiracy theories now.
Yeah. Well, that's back to like the Casey Means thing. Like if you Google her, so just this morning, because I was trying to do some research on this, if you Google her, there's all sorts of TikTok things about, this Himalayan pink salt magical diet fix that she apparently is connected to somehow. And so YouTube is and TikTok are huge on that. But either way, here's what I submit to you, Essie, because Dave and I are arguing about this.
Oh, okay.
Of all of the things we have to worry about, and I'm going to put Elon Musk, Pete Hegseth as our Secretary of Defense, Kash Patel as our FBI head director,
RFK Jr.
Peter Navarro. Okay. I'm going to put Casey Means way down. Like I'm not going to worry about this one. I mean, Dave argues that I should because she's our top doctor. But like in terms of the panoply of conspiracy theorists and who can do the most harm, I'm not going to worry about this one.
Yeah. This post always feels sort of like nominal to me. Like I'm not really sure. Other than slapping labels on cigarettes, I don't really know what the Surgeon General does. And it would seem HHS Secretary has a lot more power. That's my understanding of it. But I'm sure we'll begin to see how influential she is very quickly if she gets confirmed. I'm not sure she'll get confirmed.
It'll be a fascinating confirmation hearing. Look, 5 years from now, it'll be interesting to see the vaccine rates across the country because of RFK and because of Casey Means and because of the conversation. It'll be interesting to see. All this begs the question to you: what is the central characteristic of a Trump cabinet nominee?
They'll say and do anything that he wants, that he likes. I think that's it. Because it's almost a joke. Like it's like they found the worst possible person for the position. Like RFK Jr. is the worst possible person for HHS secretary. Like the absolute worst. Pete, I know Pete. Pete is in no way qualified to run the Defense Department. Okay. And we know all the reasons why. Kash Patel, probably the worst person to go into the FBI. It's like it's a big joke on us. Like, let's really gaslight America with these picks. And it seems to me the common thread for all of them is they'll say what he wants them to say and do what he wants them to do. And when I say like, it's the Fox thing. When I say Fox doctor, just to explain, for example, this is a doctor who's a real doctor. But once you get Foxified, you have to start saying shit that might not be true to stay on Fox. And so that's how you get doctors on Fox talking about COVID cures that aren't real or vaccine skepticism. Because if the new line at Fox is we've got to do vaccine skepticism to please MAGA, the doctor's got to do that or the doctor won't get back on Fox. It's the same in Trump's cabinet. Like you've got to be willing to say the crazy stuff that you might not in your ordinary life, but you are going to have to be in MAGA world.
Yeah. And that leads me to our next thing that we want to talk about with you, because you and Dave are lifelong Republicans. Is that fair to say. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, you could
until 2016,
right?
Yeah,
I mean,
not
now-
anymore, but yeah.
right. But I mean, you were well known as Republicans, and you were conservative. Essie, I think more conservative than Dave.
Yes.
And so, are you now lone voices in the woods, or are you feeling, based upon what your experience on Substack or your experience out in the world or at the Daily News, or Dave with your vast network of like-minded friends, like how is there a Republican Party now? Is there still a Republican Party? Are there sane voices? What's the status?
No. No, I've been saying this for a bit, that I feel like we're watching the Republican Party collapse, which sounds counterintuitive because they run Washington, right? White House, Senate. They've never been more powerful, but we're watching the party collapse because once it jettisoned the conservatism, because Trump didn't care about the conservatism, once they jettisoned that, they became a bit unmoored, disconnected to something foundational. And the more they became attached to Trump and Trumpism, they've lost an identity that will outlive this Republican Party. There's nothing past Trump. And in jettisoning the principles like, anti-protectionism, for example, founding principle of conservatism, to not like tariffs. Once they did that, they've lost the trust of people who would naturally be drawn to a party that espoused all of the principles that conservatism espouses. No one's representing conservatism anymore. So if you're in the Republican Party and a practicing member, it's because of Trump. Once he's gone, Trumpism will live on, but he won't. And the party won't have an identity. It won't have anything around which to identify, because it's no longer conservative. That was the thing it was attached to. And it was a big tent conservative movement. So you had neocons, you had libertarians, you had all kinds of people, but they were all connected by conservatism. They're all connected just by Donald Trump now. So we're watching it collapse. I saw today Secretary Bessent, who I actually just was with in Washington. We won't get into that, but I saw him today supporting Trump's tariffs and Trump's promise of only $2, not $30 for kids, by saying like, well, we just need to teach kids like their life will be better with $2. And I'm like, the Republican Party is collapsing. We used to be the pro-personal prosperity, anti-protectionist, American dream, chicken in every pot. And now we're down to the $2 maximum party. Austerity. Breadlines. Are breadlines next? Like, it's unrecognizable. And I'm sure, Dave, you have witnessed this devolution, just like I have, where I don't recognize the party that I once really loved because there's nothing about it that hews to the things I loved about it.
There's no anchor to principles beyond a tight southern border, which I do applaud, by the way. I do applaud the job.
But not with these tactics.
But that dull remark, I don't think there's been anything less conservative said by a president in 20 or 30 years. Literally, we went from prosperity to austerity in an instant. I mean, the freaking golden age to learn to live with less. I found it a stunning turn of events. But you say the party's collapsing when the election wasn't that long ago, and they gained in every single demographic, swept the swing states. So how can we really say that? Democrats are at 27%.
Well, we could talk about Democrats too, and they have their own problems. But what I mean is this party is identityless other than Trump. And I think there were a lot of first-time Republican voters, first-time Trump voters in this last election who made that decision based on the promise of more prosperity. Okay? It was, we're going to fix the economy, you're going to be able to afford more stuff. And it was going to we're going to close the southern border. And right under that was crime. We're not going to be soft on crime like the Dems were. Those were the three issues. And Americans trusted Republicans more on those issues. And I totally understand why. That's a Democrat problem. But I don't think that any of this is what most people voted for. And so it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in the midterms, although that's less predictive. And then for sure in 2028, if those same voters are willing to give this another chance, because I got the vote in 2024. I got why. But again, that was for Democrats' fault. To lose to a convicted criminal, that's your fault. That's a you problem. But will they be here for more of this, which is not what was promised? I don't know.
But can anyone continue Trumpism? I mean, there's this debate between, is it J.D. Vance? Is it Marco Rubio? Maybe it's Donald Trump Jr. You said when Donald Trump is gone. I don't ever see that happening.
You think he's actually immortal?
Politically, yes. Politically immortal. He will overshadow everything any candidate ever says. I don't know how Republicans get back to a Nikki Haley-like figure.
That's exactly my point. The Republican Party is collapsing. There's nowhere to go back to. I think once it runs through Trumpism, and you're right, Trumpism outlives him and will be the party for a while, but not forever. It won't forever because there's nobody else like Trump and no one will know how to do what Trump is doing. Once that happens, it will have to start from scratch. It can't just say, okay, guys, let's go back to the conservative thing we were doing 20 years ago. They won't have any base of voters who are there for that. So it'll have to completely rebuild. And that's what I mean by it's collapsing. I'm not saying it's not powerful. I'm not saying it's not ubiquitous. And I'm not saying Trumpism is gone. I'm saying it's collapsing before our eyes, the Republican Party that we knew.
But who's in worse shape, Allie? Democrats or Republicans? Democrats are 27% completely rudderless and leaderless.
I don't know. I can't answer that because I'm always more optimistic than you are about these things. I feel like someone emerges. I feel like there's a situation that we don't know yet. There's a circumstance that happens and something that the situation changes.
Deus ex machina.
Someone seizes on it. But Dave, you were telling me, and I want you to get Essie's perspective. You were telling me that you were heartened by something that former Vice President Mike Pence just experienced.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw Mike Pence's return, and he gave a rousing speech about the Constitution and principles. And I was never a Mike Pence guy, but this moment really did hearten me because there was a rousing ovation for the thing. And I thought, who the hell are these people that are applauding conservative principles in the Constitution? No, I mean, it was a nice moment.
I agree, but
I was stunned to see that type of reception, and I didn't know who the crowd was made up of.
I'm interested too, because rousing and Mike Pence are not things that I normally put together. Right.
I was a big Mike Pence fan. I went down to Indiana when he was governor, and I spent a couple days with him interviewing him. I called him a silver fox. I was a fan because he was like the most fiscally conservative Republican. He had been in the House, then he became governor. He was a budget hawk. This was my love language, okay? I loved this. I was a big Pence fan. I had high hopes for him. I knew then he wanted to run for president. I was on board, okay? Then he dumped all that to carry Trump's water and be his vice president. Dumped all the budget hawkery to suddenly not care about the budget, raising the debt and the deficit. None of this mattered anymore. He jettisoned all the things just to carry Trump's water. So he, needless to say, went on my list.
We broke up.
But we broke up. But a lot of people also decided, okay, we're no longer here for Mike Pence. So his problem is he has no natural constituency. And I don't know who that audience was either, but I promise you they wouldn't vote for him. Okay. They might be never Trumpers. They might love that he's standing up to Trump. They might love that he's standing up for the Constitution. They would never vote for Mike Pence. He's too conservative. And it's the same. I talk to Adam Kinzinger about this all the time because he's like, Democrats love me now, but they'd never vote for me. And there's this tendency in media and elsewhere to see anyone conservative who breaks with Trump, who disavows Trump, as somehow moderating to the middle. And the fact is we reject him because he's not conservative enough or at all. So the Liz Cheneys, the Adam Kinzingers, the Mike Pences might be saying and doing the right things, but they don't have a natural constituency. There aren't enough never Trumpers to elect people who are very, very conservative, but also sane and standing up for the Constitution and the country. That's just the fact of it now.
Such a good point, because Democrats do love you guys, the reformed Republicans. Yeah. There's nothing more delicious to a Democrat until they hear your positions.
And then ask us about our positions. And then, right. Exactly right.
That's right. Okay, so does this lead us to sanity? I think it does.
Yeah, well, look, it is Dose of Sanity, but it's Mental Health Awareness Month, and very few people in the media care more about this than SC. And another thing that bonds us, not just conservatism, it's just our deep belief in mental health awareness. And both of us have admitted our struggles. I find it a little easier for women to do it in this world than men, as I've taken a bit of ridicule every time I come out with admitting depression or anxiety. Right? Oh boy.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And people that'll reach out, SC, through the corporate world and say, you need to take that down off your social media. That's going to hurt you. And it's really a bummer.
Yeah, that's awful. I mean, we call it here a dose of sanity. We ask all of our guests, but for you, of course, it's a cup of sanity. And so what about you, Essie? You've been, you have spoken publicly about it. You've been quite honest about your own mental health struggle recently. So do you want to just tell us a little bit about your story?
Sure. So a few years ago, I had a total nervous breakdown.
What did that look like? Because I've heard you say that. What did that look like?
I woke up on a normal day, went to go get a pedicure. And I was on my phone scrolling through social media, as I do, or as I did, very passively. And I saw a video that was very triggering for me. It was of a kid who was hurt. And I had a total detachment out of body. I left my body. My body down here had a panic attack. My body up here felt like I was on drugs, like high, spaced out, blurry vision. I left immediately. I don't remember leaving. I don't remember paying. I don't remember getting in my car. I drove 2 minutes home. I don't remember that. I spent the rest of that day and 3 following days in bed, crying, having trouble. I couldn't read anything. I couldn't make sense of words. I couldn't watch TV. It was too much sensory overload. I couldn't listen to the radio music except for classical music. If it had words in it, it was too stimulating. And the good news in how debilitating it was that I got help right away. There was no I'm going to take a walk. I'm going to, I can sleep this off. There was none of that. I couldn't look at my kid without crying. Just a total feeling of hopelessness. And also I couldn't make sense of the world at all. And so I got a therapist right away who wanted me to go to the doctor, an ER, and get an Ativan drip. But in talking it through, initially we determined I had OD'd on anxiety that day. And I had been living unknowingly with acute, severe anxiety. And I didn't know it. And when I look back on it, I can't believe how much I endured before I got help, because I was catastrophizing 24 hours a day. And for anyone who doesn't know, that's exhausting. Imagining the worst things about to happen every minute of every day. So I'm driving down the street. I see an ambulance go by. It's definitely going to my kid's school for him. Or a train's going by. It's definitely going to crash. It's going to crash into me. It's going to crash into my house. Crazy things that are not going to happen were definitely going to happen to me. And what I thought then was, if I think about it, it will prevent it. If I don't think about the awful thing happening, it's definitely going to happen. So I was trapped in this endless loop of catastrophizing. And there are a lot of reasons why, some childhood reasons, but also the nature of what we do. And I do a lot of philanthropic work with kids who are
Inara, right?
Inara, who are war victims. And that is really tough to see videos and talk to these kids. And so I was a bit over-indexed on trauma, other people's and my own. And my coping mechanisms were catastrophizing and transference. If something awful happened to someone in the news or someone I knew, I put it on like a costume, like it was happening to me. I wanted to experience the emotional weight of what had happened. If I did that, I was inoculating myself from it. It's completely irrational. And I still struggle with anxiety, but I've got such a better handle on it. I went on medication. I'm in therapy. I talk to a therapist every week. It's a must. There are boundaries that I've put in with my work and my life. But overcoming, learning how to not be anxious, because I learned to live with it really well. Learning how to live without it has been the fight of my life. And I talk about it because if I had known earlier what I was doing to myself and putting myself through, I could have gotten help earlier, and it wouldn't have become so ingrained in my DNA to do this stuff. So it's really important that we talk about it. And Dave, you're very brave for talking about it, because the stigma is higher for men, and it's especially higher for men of color. So when people like Charlemagne the God or Jalen Rose talk about mental health and their struggles, it is so impactful and important. So you talking about it against all the criticism and, awful people is really important. So I'm glad that you do.
I can relate to a lot of that. I mean, mine is, I was 44, 45 years old when I realized that. And when I trace back my entire life, I can trace back every screw up professionally I ever had to this feeling of anxiety and not knowing what to do with it.
Yes.
Not knowing where to put it.
Yeah.
And often it came out on bosses or coworkers.
As anger. Yours more like came out as anger, right?
And it was just this overwhelming anxiety that has crippled me every day for 20 years. And I'm still learning how to figure it out. In terms of giving people tools, you say you use medication. I do as well. I try to meditate and exercise. Mm-hmm. What do you do when you're having one of those days?
Yeah.
What do you advise people to do when they're having one of those crippling days?
Well, I don't, because I'm a real subscriber of the notion that you have to get professional help. And what I hate is you go on TikTok and you see people being like, here's how to stop your anxiety in 5 seconds, or 5 easy, tricks to stop your anxiety. Or you haven't diagnosed me. You haven't met me. My anxiety might be very different from yours. Dave and I just discovered in this moment, we have very different kinds of anxiety. They manifest in different ways. Someone like Naomi Osaka, who I've interviewed about her anxiety, she has social anxiety. That's a very different thing. If you haven't met me, if you haven't spent hours talking to me about my anxiety, you don't know how to stop it. And listen, I tried meditation, breathing exercises, walking. Exercise is always good, but it does not stop my anxiety. None of this could turn my brain off. I had to find the thing that actually worked for me. And I would never tell anyone else this will work for you, because I don't know if it will. But for me, my anxiety is actually and weirdly very attached to my self-worth and feeling valuable as in my work. My work is and I'm sure you feel the same, Dave. Yeah.
100%.
My self-worth is very attached to my work. And when my work is unstable, this is when I get very anxious. And because my brain can't solve whatever work crisis. It has to create things to solve outside. So I'm going to solve the catastrophe that isn't going to happen. I'm going to solve, my son's safety. My brain has to do it. So for me, being productive, and if that means like, okay, CNN isn't having me on as much right now, I have to make work for myself. Because if I feel productive, I feel good. I feel strong. I feel healthy. My brain doesn't go to those awful dark places. That wasn't something I could have learned overnight or in one therapy session. It took years for me to figure out that is my health trick, staying productive. So again, this wouldn't work for everyone, and I don't advise people. I'm happy to tell you what I've gone through and what has worked for me, but I don't advise people because I really think you need to talk to a professional. I really think there's no way around the therapy part.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm a big fan of therapy. I don't know why you guys are ignoring my mental health. I don't know why I'm the odd man out. But
this is funny. Like, she is my anchor. Like, I mean, when I am panicked and the world's falling apart and we don't have a guest, she's like, we're fine. I like it. And I don't understand the lack of,
she's the best.
I mean, it's truly astounding.
She's not here.
Yeah, I know. I am the best.
But it is truly a gift to me at this point in my life.
And I appreciate that. But it's that I don't.
And you've been through more than either of us
correct
could ever imagine.
Well, I have a couple of thoughts about that, which is really interesting. It's that I too in my life, Essie, have catastrophized. And what I was doing was the same thing that you're talking about. I thought if I practiced it mentally, I'd be prepared.
Yes.
So if I practice trying on, as you said, the emotions of that must be devastating. Oh God, what would I do if there were a school shooting? Oh my God, what would I do if I was hit by a train? That I could be better prepared. It's actually adaptive. We can talk about it as a dysfunction, but there's something about it that's like bad things are happening out there. I better be prepared.
It's a defense mechanism.
It's a defense mechanism. I'm gonna. It's a coping mechanism. Like I'm gonna try it on for size right now so that I can be prepared. And here's my dirty little secret to share with everybody. It's not even my dirty little secret. It's the truth of what happens when the worst thing in the world happens to you, as I just experienced 2.5 years ago. You're not prepared. There's nothing you can be prepared for. All of whatever you think you're doing, catastrophizing and imagining losing someone very close to you and imagining the death of your spouse, it doesn't prepare you. So you can just do away with all that. You can do away with all of that anxiety and just live your life and know that when the worst thing happens, you'll look for help and you'll get help then. And that's ultimately what I've learned in these past 2.5 years. But I also do want to say that you guys do have the same profile of getting a lot of your identity and consolation and solace from your work, which is why this moment where there's so much disruption in the world and in particularly our business journalism is really hard for you guys. And I'm just raw dogging it.
That was right.
Oh, good. I did it.
Ding. Wow. I didn't know if that was right or wrong. Essie's our raw dogging expert.
That's right.
Disturbing.
That's great.
I just want to ask you one question about what she just said. And one of the most difficult parts of what you and I experience is on your spouse, because I am in love with my wife after more than 20 years of marriage, and I love my children, and I am grateful for my home and all that, and my wife never understands, like, why aren't we enough? And I wish I had an answer for that. Like, it's such an awful feeling. Like, he's right. Like, that would be horrible to feel like you're not enough. Does your husband feel that way?
I don't think so, because I figured this out gradually, like I said, over years. And my anxiety, I train it on my husband and my son and keeping all of us safe. So I think he was actually relieved when I figured out a way to train my anxiety away and onto work, the thing that's actually making me anxious. And worrying less about their safety, I think was a relief for him. I don't think he saw it as, why is this part of her life so much more important than we are? I think he saw it as like, we are shifting the anxiety from us to work in a way that's actually healthy. And knowing when we figured out that staying productive and keeping myself busy was the cure, was the trick for me. No, I mean, he was thrilled. He was thrilled that I figured that out, because we spent years in therapy on a journey, not really knowing how to get a handle on this. And, you know, the anxiety comes at really odd times. Like I had a security issue at my house last summer where we were swatted, and it was awful. My son was home. He was asleep. Like, it was awful. I thought, oh, this is going to be bad. Like my next week is going to be bad. Well, it wasn't. My anxiety waited for vacation a month later to, right? Because this is what we do. I can power through the work. My anxiety knows this. My anxiety said, I'll wait for your vacation. And every day of that vacation was awful. And I was spiraling and I didn't know why. And I was like, oh, that's because of that thing that happened, of course. So no, I think, to answer your question, no, he doesn't see it that way. And I don't, I don't know if there's a way.
I see it's because you haven't, you've always been honest that yours is about work, and Brandy knows that. So you haven't, like, you don't micromanage your family and have your anxiety be about protecting them. She knows it's about work. You're clear.
No, and part of that is because my wife runs the ship. Like, I don't want to say this, I'm not needed there. Like, she has everything perfectly run without me. So therefore, my only worth in the world is professionally.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
It's probably more of a gender thing too. I think
there's some of that. I would guess too, but I think, listen, having so much of your self-worth tied to work is not healthy. It's not good, right? It just is. It is. And I'm sure for me, it for sure goes back to childhood. I don't know your whole story, but I am imagining it's not just a new thing. It's born somewhere. And there's nothing we can do about that other than try to learn healthy ways to navigate our lives. But it's not like you would choose that. You didn't choose to make your work, so tied to your self-worth and how you are valued. And that's not how Brandy sees you either. You are valued outside of that too. And your kids value you outside of work too. It's a question of whether you can see it or not. And it's not like they're not enough. This is just a part of you that needs nourishing, and it needs to be filled for you to feel good. And like I said, you wouldn't choose it. It just is. It just is.
And that's what people that don't have mental health struggles don't quite understand. I don't choose
mental health struggles.
Oh, well,
right?
She just said
people out there.
My wife
has
never. I mean, every day of her life, no matter how good or bad, she has been even keeled and wakes up glass half full. That's awesome. And I admire the hell out of it. Like, if there's one thing I could steal, it's those people that are just naturally hopeful or optimistic. Like, that is a gift.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Tim, my husband, didn't have mental health struggles either. So, like, obviously, but this is obviously why we choose
Tim is the
these
quintessential
people.
Yeah. This is why we choose them. And probably why they chose us, other than some other
things
assets
that we offer, that we provide.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, I take your point. There are some people who don't. It seems to me that it's fairly ubiquitous right now. So the mental health struggle. So it's interesting to me when you meet somebody who doesn't. And you're right. Brandy, as far as I can tell, is one of them.
And Tim was. Well,
sure.
And you dive into these issues on Off the Cupp.
So yeah, Off the Cupp is an iHeart podcast where it's an interview show. I interview celebrities, but the point of it, we talk about their lives, their careers, no politics. The point of it is to create a space where mental health could come up naturally in conversation if if it wants to. So in talking to, say, Henry Winkler, talk about his career, terrific. Well, he ends Happy Days thinking the phone's going to ring because he's the biggest star in the world, but the phone doesn't ring for years. And this sends him into a depression. So in talking about his career, we get to a mental health moment where he feels like I can talk about this and this won't be weird because I kind of nurture that environment to create those opportunities. Because I didn't want to do a mental health podcast on the nose because I'm not a mental health expert. I'm not even an expert on my own mental health. That's why I see one. But I did want to create a space where it could come up naturally in conversation, because that's how we get rid of the stigma and the silence. When you can naturally in conversation, how you doing today? Ugh, my anxiety is at a 10. Like, or I might just love therapy and I feel amazing. You know, like to just naturally talk about it is going to make it easier for people to talk about it. And that's the whole point.
And your Substack is called Group Therapy when you do live stuff, which is great. That is brilliant.
Yeah, because, you know, I didn't want to do politics on Substack, but that's the only thing people want me to do, which is so rude. So I'm doing it. Give the people what they want, but I'm doing it. But the way I could do it was this like group therapy. Let's talk about how awful and insane and crazy and wacko this is together. I might have some answers, I might not, but we'll be in it together. So that felt like natural and okay for me.
Well, we'd love to join you on your Substack anytime.
Wait, let's do it live.
Let's do it live. Let's do it live.
Okay, we'll do it live. No, we'll do the fire pit, adult beverages, whatever, and do a live group therapy because it's really cathartic. And then we talk to people in the Substack, and it's really great. But we should definitely do it together.
Oh, let's do that. Let's raw dog it.
Okay. No.
No?
No.
Really?
No. You're very hit and miss with this. When you're on it, Allie, you're really on it. You're so good.
I really thought that one was going to nail it. Interesting. All right. Let's do that. We take you up on that invitation. That would be fantastic.
Great. We'll set it up.
Essie, you're wonderful. You are so wonderful.
You guys are wonderful. I'm so glad you guys are doing this because this is like the perfect space for you guys. You are so sane and normal and talented and wonderful. But like people need to hear from you. People need to hear your voices through all of this. So you're in the perfect place.
Thank you.
You are the best. Admire you, love you, respect you.
Love you guys.
It's been great. Thank you so much.